Enda, we've just heard some details from China out of a press conference. How likely are they to go to the U.S. and take part in these talks? How likely is Liu He to join them?
Well, we didn't get a firm signal, Matt. We had some conciliatory tones from the MOFA press conference, which was on just before we came to air here. The official said that the delegation is preparing to make their way across, but he stopped short of specifics in terms of who might be in that delegation, when they might go, how long for. And of course, he didn't say they are certainly still going. He just said that the US and China should continue to, or need to work together on this issue. So I think there's still a lot up in the air here. It's something of a conciliatory tone from China that they might be willing to go, but I think that it will much will now depend on how the back channeling plays out over the next day or so as to whether or not the trade talks that were scheduled for this week do in fact go ahead at the end of the week.
These tariffs, we're not just talking about raising tariffs on goods that are already taxed. Donald Trump is talking about putting tariffs on all the goods. How dangerous would that be for the U.S. economy?
Yeah, well, so all along there has been a view among economists that the tariffs so far broadly skirted the consumer sector, so to speak, when the latest threat from Mr. Trump is twofold. It's to increase existing tariffs that he has placed on Chinese goods, and it is to, secondly, broaden the tariffs to blanket all of those goods coming from China. And that's where you get into the world of consumer goods, consumer electronics, consumer textiles, and all the rest of it. And then the thinking among economists is that you start to hurt consumer sentiment, you start to hurt consumer spending, and of course that also has a backlash on China's economy too. So if these threats were pushed through by the president, then I think you get into territory where economists say you're looking at a material hit to sentiment and global growth.
What kind of implications do you think these threats have on trade talks, and how much of this is, bureaucratic teams on both sides of the table just going through the motions and wrapping things up?
No, for sure. I mean, obviously we don't know what's going on behind the scenes in terms of the brinkmanship and the gamesmanship, but we do know, Matt, that a lot of progress had been made on the goods deficit side of things. China had promised several times to buy more goods, and we know that was on the table. We know there was also progress being made in terms of China opening up its economy, but certainly sticking points remained around enforcement, remained around China's broad industrial strategy, which includes a lot of state aid. Nobody expected any of those really big structural issues to be resolved in a short period of time, and perhaps the US is now giving it one last push for some of those issues to try and get resolved. And of course, if they can't meet halfway, then it appears as though we are heading back towards a new round of tariffs. So much depends on how all of this plays out over the coming days.